We're going to talk to Brian Sloman, who's a buddy of mine. He's got a ton of information for us. He's also going to give us some tips about if you want to get into the business of health insurance advising. So here he is, Brian Sloman. Remember, like, subscribe, comment, share, all that great stuff. But don't forget to ring the bell so you get more notifications from Field One Post. So, Brian, thanks for joining me today for the Spotlight Series. I'm really glad
Thank
you
you
could
for
make the time.
inviting me, Jonathan.
You're so
Pleasure to be
welcome.
with you.
And I'm glad to have you. So let's start off with the basics. Just tell me who you are and what you do.
Well, my full name's Brian Sloman. Thank goodness it's Sloman without the W. It was quite bad enough being at English boys boarding school being called escargot by my French teacher for years. And I am a senior agent, one-time divisional manager, but I'm getting too long in the tooth for that kind of responsibility.
It's all good.
With a company called US Health Advisors, which was recently purchased by the nation's largest health insurance company, an A+ rated United Healthcare. So I am now a health insurance salesman, and frankly, I love it to death.
Well, that's the next question, right? So what is it that you like so much about it?
Well, when I chose this almost as a retirement profession, Jonathan, I couldn't sell myself on the idea of being a salesman. I've got many other things, but I needed to do some more. And I was extremely unsuccessful until such time that I convinced myself that what I do is extraordinarily important. After all I do is care for the lives of individuals, families, small businesses. And it's an overused word, but I consider that an awesome responsibility. And so once I got out of my own way in my belief mechanism, I started to love what I do. And actually, with every passing year, I love it more and more, because I get no greater thrill than looking at what my potential clients are currently doing with their health. And then remembering that the word advisors is the most important word in our company name.
It is.
So I enjoy looking at benefit packages. I enjoy analyzing cost to performance ratio and seeing if I can do better. And in my ample arrogance, I pretty much always do. And that's become a buzz.
So the rewarding part of what you do is really talking to individuals that don't know what to do and helping them figure it out. Which, in the healthcare industry, it's a bit of a web in terms of navigating the insurance companies and so on and so forth. So obviously, anybody that looks for health insurance is going to find, you could throw a stone and hit 100 health insurance brokers. So I imagine everybody has their own technique for getting the word out there. What would you say? What would you offer as advice for other people who are in this field in terms of marketing?
Well, let's separate Brian Sloman, partly because of age, from what I used to say to rookies when I was the boss. You've got to use every single resource at your fingertips. And nowadays, that is leads that are plugged in to a dialer. And one should think about advertising. For me, however, I now strictly work on referrals and networking. Referrals, of course, are wonderful because nobody in their right mind refers a person like me unless they believe in me.
Right.
And networking is just plain fun, getting to know people and having the opportunity without selling, because that's not what it's about. It's about listening and learning. And I think I enjoy that more. I'm often accused of talking too much, and that's a very, very fair criticism. But I love listening to people, understanding their needs and their wants. And let's remember, needs and wants aren't always one and the same thing. It's my job to try and get them as close as I possibly can.
Right.
Understanding financial constraints and bringing them what they need and want at the right price they can afford. And what makes US health advisors so very, very different is, for my clients, it's like ordering from a menu. So I can lay out a menu, I can listen, I can learn, I can suggest what I think they need. But you can't do that with, to my knowledge, with any other company than ours, fitting people to their needs.
So if we're talking about, a Chinese menu, if you will, where you're trying to find those benefits that the individual can afford and that they need, what advice can you offer those of us who are not in the business that you're in when they're shopping? What's the advice?
Let me give you two extreme examples, Jonathan, or actually three.
That would be great.
And they are extreme, but the competition, let's call it the way it is mainly the government-sponsored Affordable Care Act plans. And they come with pretty great expense,
right,
and a lot of benefits that people don't necessarily need. Right. Whereas, for example, I don't think that the average 60-year-old is, mountain climbing and going to have an accident and needs additional, above and beyond health insurance now, additional accident protection. We all know that there's juvenile, this, that, and the other, but the majority of children in their late teens and through college are not thinking cancer, stroke, heart attack, etc.
Right.
So if and when, and it's pretty much every single meeting I have, if and when cost becomes the key element, right, I'm going to say, do you need additional accident protection? And they say, well, please explain. And exactly the same with critical care. Please explain. And I do. And in doing so, I'm going to be able to save people a considerable sum. I mean, Jonathan, it's, I do not exaggerate when I say I've saved people 50% on their premiums.
Right.
And actually tailor-built product that they need.
This is not unlike when somebody goes to a financial advisor and says, here's how much I make. I don't make millions and millions of dollars. What can I do? And the advisor says the same thing. Well, let's start here. So it's not unlike that. And it sounds to me as though you're able to talk to that person and say, you could do this and this and this, but you probably don't need that just yet. Let's just start here. And so what I hear you saying is that when you're dealing with, big healthcare providers directly, or even the government plan directly, they have packages. So it sounds to me like you're able to make what we would call custom packages. Would that be accurate?
Absolutely. You've nailed it. I mean, that is spot on. You've got to meld the budget to the need, and I pride myself on doing that every day. I mean, I love our company mission statement, which is hope. That simply stands for help other people every day. And again, when I was the divisional manager, I would turn to rookies joining us and saying, at the end of the night, when you're brushing your teeth, if you cannot answer yourself by saying, I helped somebody today, please don't come into our industry. And I certainly don't want you under me. And so that part also helped me get over the hump of once being able to say, I own a boutique ad agency in Midtown Manhattan, to I sell health insurance.
Right.
Da, da, da.
Well, and
because I think this might be more important.
Well, and I want to touch on that a little bit. That's actually, I'm glad you brought that up. And for those of you that don't know, Brian and I met through a variety of networking events, virtual networking events. And if you know me at all, I'm a chatterbox, and you'll find that Brian is too. So, but here's the thing that I think is really kind of cool. Now, I don't know how many meetup groups you're in. I'm in 6. And at least one of every one of those groups, there's somebody that is a health insurance advisor. But they're all U.S. healthcare.
Yep.
Which tells you something about, and I'm not promoting U.S. healthcare. I want to be clear. This is on the net.
U.S. health advisors, by the way.
Yes, correct. Thank you.
No, it's important, because if anybody was to look it up, they wouldn't find us under U.S.
Because U.S. healthcare is something completely different. And I'm a video editor. That's what I do. I own a video production company and a digital marketing agency. I have nothing to do with healthcare. I just want to get that disclaimer out there. But I think it's very interesting. And we're probably gonna have another spotlight here with Brian where we talk about his past. But the industry that you came from was a very cutthroat industry. The advertising industry is not for sissies. And so now you're in this people industry, helping people. I mean, how does one make that kind of a change?
I think maturity has a great deal to do with it, Jonathan. I'm not as selfish a person as I was when I lived in Midtown Manhattan and had a boutique ad agency. And it can't be, by the way. It's no longer me, because that's where the money lies. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a naive fool. I still need to make commissions.
Everybody's got
exactly. But my services cost absolutely nothing.
Right.
And now I'm able to very gladly care about potential clients.
Right.
But at no cost. So I'm not giving anything away other than a tiny, tiny slice of me, which I love to do.
Yep.
So,
and the other thing is that being an advisor, I mean, you can get in touch with an advisor, and they'll sit down with you, and they'll say, okay, well, so here's what we could offer you. Oh, you don't like that? Okay, well, let's try this. It's different when you talk to Brian Sloman, because he can say, all right, so that doesn't work. Hey, let's talk about this time over in England when I was, you just have this personality that people are going to be like, are you sure you're a health advisor? It's a friendly experience. Seems to me that you play the long game very well. To be a sprint to close and close and close and close. I think you generally enjoy building these relationships.
Mm.
Because let's face it, if you've got a friend, you've got a customer, you know,
Yep.
and it's not always the other way around.
Yep.
So
and let's, Jonathan, let's
how
remember.
how does that come to be for you? How does
Well,
that work?
remember, you're spot on, because what you do has to have an instant response. You can't edit film and sound terribly sorry, and I've given you a load of rubbish. In advertising, I couldn't take a campaign, 3 different ideas, each 3 deep, and sell them to a client, and I needed instant reaction. Well, yeah, I'd love to walk away from every meeting with a new client. That's not real. It's not. So, yeah, for the first time and before advertising, I was in PR. Before that, I was a newspaper journalist, and all instant businesses. But now I can really think, engage that,
right,
and get back to people.
So before we wrap this up, because we try and keep these videos short, and Brian and I could go on for hours. This could be like a live presentation
You're right.
Where you get a pint and you just sit and listen to Brian and I tell stories about video and advertising and our lives. But so I want to wrap this particular interview up, but I want to ask you one more question before we get done, and that is, what is it about being a healthcare advisor that really gets you up in the morning, that really energizes you? And I'll give you an example. My father's a sports physical therapist, and I gave him a card one year for when he retired, when he reached 65. And I said, congratulations on your retirement. Now, when somebody says, have a good day, you actually have a shot at it. And he told me, I've never had a bad day. As long as I'm treating and helping patients, it's a good day. And at 85 years of age, he is still treating professional athletes. So
I love that.
So I pose it to you.
You can imagine, I'm 68, going on 12.
Right.
But good for your dad. I mean,
well, so what
beautiful.
gets you up in the morning? What's your motivation? Why keep doing this all the time?
Number one, I'll be very blunt. I couldn't do nothing.
Right. Me too.
Life without work for me would be intolerable. What on earth would the point be of getting out of bed? So that's the start point. But once you are out of bed and showered and shaved and ready to go to work, it's, who do you have in your pipeline? Who did you meet that was new at a networking meeting? From whom did you get a referral? And as I say, it's not as if I'm dealing in a trite manner, as a lot of my life in publicity and advertising, frankly, was. I'm dealing with people's lives. Right. And that's a hell of a buzz.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm going to cut it short, but I want to thank you for taking the time. We've been trying to do this meeting for a little while now. And the funny thing is that we had an event. It was a mixer event, and I put 3 spotlight videos in as door prizes. And so Brian and I would joke every call, Jonathan, when are you going to interview me? And I would say, whenever I have enough hard drive space for the footage. And so Brian won the spotlight video. Yeah. And then I said, well, Brian, I guess it's come down to it. We're down to the quick now. We're going to have to do this. Yeah. But I can't tell you how much I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today.
No, not as much as I appreciate your professionalism, the fact that you care, and the fact that you're jolly darn good at what you do. So it's not as if I'm a neophyte in broadcasting, but this has been an absolute delight.
All right. So before thank you.
Thank you for
and
that.
this is why people like Brian Sloman, because he pays it forward and he pays it back. But let me just ask you this: if somebody wants to reach you, how do they reach you?
Well, I'm total IT moron, but I do own telephones. The best phone number for me is area code 610-290-2200.
Well, there you have it, sports fans. It sounds to me like if you're looking for health insurance, you better reach out to Brian Sloman. Get some good advice. So, Brian, thank you so much. And it's a Friday. I hope you have a great weekend and you're not shoveling any snow.
Oh, Jonathan, apparently it's going to be in the 40s and 50s, wet and lousy, but I'm English, so 50s and rainy is absolutely perfect.
All right. All right.
Thank you, sir. You are a very kind, caring individual. And as I say, I've enjoyed this immensely.
So there you have it. Brian Sloman, the man with the plan when it comes to health insurance. Give him a call. I think you'll find that he's loaded with extra information, and I know he can give you a deal. So if you like this video, give us a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to ring that bell to get more videos from Field One Post. And there's a lot more coming. Have a great day and stay safe.